Zels, they've announced it. There's a last 16 Investec Champions Cup. It starts on the Friday night, local time, Friday the 3rd of April. It's the Saints against Cast. Saturday, the big day, Bath, Saracens, Toulon, 1600 against the Stormers, Glasgow against the Bulls, 1730. That's the one. That's the block that we want. Toulouse at home against Bristol Bears, Harlequins against Sale Sharks. And then Sunday, Bordeaux, what a team, up against the Tigers, who I wish they never got there. And Leinster at home against Edinburgh. Edinburgh, another team, I think more URC. So that's been now completed the first week of April. Lots can happen in the next 2 weeks. Everyone's been wrapping up things for the mid-competition report. 10 players were nominated for Investec Player of the Tournament. And no surprises, Sasha Feinberg from Ngomazulu is there.
No surprises at all, mate. He's had a cracking couple of seasons, hasn't he? And in this season is no exception. Sublime talent and does things on the field that you've probably never seen before. And I think he has an extremely high ceiling, and we haven't even begun tapping into it. So I think he's got to be probably on the short list there, even on the shorter than short list. And I'm very hopeful that he comes away with the award.
Well, 8 line breaks that he made. He only played the 2 games. He played La Rochelle and he played the Tigers. The one name that I was surprised wasn't there was Paul de Villiers. He played 3 games, player of the match in La Rochelle, player of the match in Cape Town against the Tigers, and he was very good against Bayonne as well. The only one he missed was the Harlequins. Imi Khan was the player of the match against Bayonne. But when I look at the Bordeaux boys, Jalibert, Louis Bilberry,
they're all there.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
So I love those initiatives where they nominate players, and I just think it's cool that we have someone in there. When in the past we really haven't had guys.
And not just the guy there making up the numbers, like a real contender to win this thing.
Completely. Yeah. And I think if you just put his name forward, though, if he plays, he gets something.
Exactly.
I think they were having an issue at the Stormers every time they put player of the match. 5 nominees, if his name's in there, he wins it. But he only played the last 5 minutes.
That's all he needs, mate.
But looking at the stats that have been released, one thing that struck me with the individual stats, and we're going to go through them, and then the team stats, is that Clinton Swart, on loan with you guys from the Pumas, he played against Bayonne and he kicked 4 penalties in that game. And then he came on for Damian Willems, so for a few minutes against Harlequins when he went for the concussion test. He ranked 2nd individually for most penalties kicked over 4 rounds, which tells you how little emphasis has been put on kicking 3-pointers.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, back in the day, it was a lot of sort of kick tennis from one end of the field to the other, and then eventually one team goes and they concede a penalty, and then the other team has a crack at goal. That's definitely a trend that has been on the fade, I would say, and teams generally turn kickable penalties into attacking lineouts and try and back them all to either score a try or milk a yellow card out of the opposing team. So I'm a big fan of taking the shots, taking the 3 points anytime you feel like you have an 80% chance of converting it. I think probably this isn't true across the board, but I think in the old days you'd pick your flower for his goal-kicking ability first and then kind of the rest of his skills around that. And I think that's probably a trend that's changed in selections as well over the years of professionalism. And now your fly-off is obviously a massive contributor in terms of driving the game and in general play, etc., etc. So I think there are a few cases out there where the 10 is not really a great goal kicker, and that may influence teams' decisions around those penalties. But certainly, especially in the Champions Cup, I think it's 20% less penalty shots per game than in the URC. So it is a point of interest.
You know, we all talk about the Dan Carters, the Mornay Staines, Monty in those last 50 tests when he was identified as the goal kicker. He kicked at 81% in the 2007 World Cup. Johnny Wilkinson, obviously, Andrew Mertens. Everyone throws out that 80% stat, but it's not realistic. It's more 75. If your goal kicker can be kicking at 75%, and then the really good ones, the Carters, the Staines of the world, they got to 80, low 80s, but they also had games where it was 1 from 6 or 1 from 5. Not too many of them. But you think in 75%, 3 from 4 is what you want from your kicker. And it's the clutch kick that he's got to kick. He can't be missing the clutch kick in those 25%. So there's stats and there's stats. We're going to go through a few of the stats. And they, again, context, Harlequins 26 tries, second highest, but they got 10 against the Stormers. So it's context to to the final tally of these stats, but it does give you a kind of trend and a kind of overview of the 4 rounds and why certain teams were leading the way and others were struggling. If we look at our South African interests, South African born, raised, Marties, Griquas, Glasgow, Scotland, captain winner, Kyle Steyn. He's in the top 3 for defenders beaten. And South Africa's Ernst van Rijn, a former Stormer. Most tackles were 66. Great effort. But again, if you're playing in a team that doesn't do a lot of tackling, you won't be there. If you're playing in a team that's defending a lot, you will be there.
That's right.
And then if we go down to Sebastian de Klerk. Also nice to see him up there, 279 attack meters, given he also played outside centre in that last game against Power, set up that wonderful try for Cheswell Jooste. I want you to just tell me a little bit about the team stats. We only see the South African teams feature the Bulls, 97% scrum success, joined 4th. And then the Stormers were for, let me get their teams, the Stormers were for turnovers and clean breaks. Okay, the Stormers 55 clean breaks. The top team was Harlequins with 65. I think 50 of them against the Stormers. It was a shocker. 61-10. It was like a new phone that came out. Okay, and then you had turnovers 1. The Stormers 31. The top team there is Glasgow Warriors 39. Nowhere else do you see the Stormers, Bulls, or Sharks featuring a top 5. Does that surprise you?
No, not really. So I think anytime you look at those Champions Cup stats after 4 rounds, it's a very small sample of data, number one. Number two, it's not a round-robin league, so you're not necessarily all playing the same teams. There's quite a big variance in that. I think it is also shaped by how teams play home and away in terms of selections. So it's quite a difficult one to draw insights from the Champions Cup after only 4 rounds because of those reasons. There's quite a few factors that influence those stats. Some of those stats are more meaningful than others. Your point around, Ernst van Rijn's high tackle count is a fantastic stat for him as an individual. He had to put his body there to make those tackles. From a team perspective, not ideal that you're making a high volume of tackles. You want to turn tackles into turnovers. And then also probably not ideal that it's, assuming it is so heavily weighted towards one player. That's also not ideal. So some stats mean more than others. Scrum win percentages is an interesting one. I'm not really sure what... as much as you don't want to lose a scrum, the real reward from a scrum is winning a scrum penalty or a great launch. So you could win a scrum not necessarily on your own terms, or you could win a scrum on your own terms. Those are 2 very different balls that you're playing with there. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that the South African teams didn't feature in the top 5 for some of those stats, because I think it is highly influenced by variable factors.
Okay, line-out success, 95% Leinster, and Scarlet's coming at 5th, 91%. So anything beyond that is under 90. And then tackle success, 85%, Glasgow again. Toulon coming at 5th at 79%. So the South African teams would feature below that. Your thoughts on that in terms of tackle success and then also line-out success? When you think that traditionally South African teams are very strong in the line-outs, and we have this reputation for being defensive mongrels.
Yeah, no, so line-out stats, I mean, that's your primary source of tries for any team is your line-out launch, so you want success there. You could get probably 100% of your ball if you took it all at the front of the line-out, and your numbers would go down the further back you go because you'd be seeking better quality ball. So that may have something to do with line-out efficiency, but also something else to do with the objective, what you're trying to get out of it, your ambition, or how ambitious are you at the line-out in terms of the ball that you're trying to get out of it. So those are things to consider there. And then tackle efficiency, we've spoken about it before. Teams are very much aggressive on defense now, willing to concede a missed tackle if it moves the attack back closer to where the defense is. And maybe a secondary defender makes the tackle, so your tackle efficiency goes down, but your line speed and your tackle dominance goes up. So again, all of those things you need the context around how that team plays to be able to compare teams.
All right, but if you look at a side like Bordeaux, played 4-1, 420 league points. Top points, they're up there, 3rd, 173. Tries, 27 Bordeaux. Line-out success, they're not in there in the top 5. Tackle success, they're there, 81%, joined 2nd. And then scrum success, 97%, joined 4th with the Bulls. Now, you've got a team that scores 27 tries, but their tackle efficiency is also 81%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, and that sort of explains how they are where they are. So, leaders or among the leaders in a bunch of key metrics are Bordeaux, and they have power and speed in equal quotients, and that makes them difficult to beat.
And then they've got meters made. They're in the top 5. Clean breaks, they're second with 61. Defenders beaten, they first with 132. Again, they don't feature on the passes or the carries, which is interesting. And then
so that just goes to show how efficient they are, right? So their carries, they're not ranking high in the carries, but they're high in clean breaks and carry meters. So when that team is on attack, they're highly efficient to break the line, they make the meters, and then they give the ball back to the other team. So low carry, high incisive rate. Like they're going to cut you and score.
And they're not there with passes and also turnovers 1.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So they create pressure through defense. They're not necessarily stealing the ball. They create pressure. You kick the ball back because you're under pressure, and then that attack is just deadly.
And their set piece, I mean, their scrum is
spot on.
It's right up there with the best in the competition.
It means you're playing the game on that side of the halfway line.
And then they got Jelly Bear at 10, who's player of the match in two of the performances. He must be one of the favourites to win the Investing Player of the round robin.
Great player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a wonderful player. Has played in the shadow of Intermac for France.
Well, I was going to say now, can we just digress a little bit? Intermac's injured again. Six Nations is on our doorstep. You're assuming Jelly Bear gets the nod. Do you think he's the guy that leads France at 10 going forward? Does Intermac come back? What are your thoughts around
Yeah, look, I enjoy Jalibert. Although when I spoke to Sean Salby, he said you've got 2 different camps there. You've got a Toulouse and you've got a Bordeaux. And Galtier is always leaned towards the Toulouse. So it's Dupont and Intermac, not Luca and Jalibert.
Right.
So I think in this country, because we're so consumed with Dupont and Intermac, we forget how good that combination of Luca and Jalibert is.
Yep.
And we've seen that now in this Investec Champions Cup and showcasing of just the quality of these players. You get a guy like Damien Penaud, who's right up there with one of the best winners in the world. Obviously, there's been some fallout with the national selectors and with Galtier, because when you see those senior players not considered in a squad plus 40, well...
I don't even think those guys are dropped. I think he's honestly just trying to keep them warm, give them a break, and then, see what the next level guy does. I think it's good for everybody that he does that.
Well, when Jalibert refused to play against the All Blacks and sit on the bench when he picked Thomas Romas at 10, then Pino said he's not pitching up either, and he went home.
Wow.
So, in solidarity for
the French, you've got to love it. You've got to love it.
So, and Galtier said when they both feel they want to play for the national side again, they must phone me.
Hopefully he's got his glasses on so you can see who's going.
Yeah, so when you look at the quality of those kind of players and then what they've done. But speaking to Salby and then Heine Adams, it's like Bordeaux needed that breakthrough to win the Investec Champions Cup last year. Was their first ever success.
Yeah.
To just kind of show that it's not just Toulouse, Toulon built a wonderful World 15 led by Jean Smith, Bucky's Bird, Brian Abana, Joe Fanikek and the like back in the day with Johnny Wilkins there, Ma Nonu, Drew Mitchell, Matt Gittel, Lobez, Fernando Lobez. I mean, they were just all in there. Sheridan, Carl Heyman, Ali Williams. We can just keep on talking.
Wow.
But in France, it's pretty much been Toulouse. So then La Rochelle came for those 2 seasons.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But again, with a lot of international players.
Yeah.
But Bordeaux, there's a sprinkling. Jean-Luc Dupree's there now. A couple of South African coaches there. But it's like the French backline and some tough nuts in those forwards. So they have been outstanding, Bordeaux. Scored the most tries. Great team to watch as well.
I love Bordeaux, mate.
And
I think Luke is so underrated. He's such a good player. And to your point, I suppose you're saying the same thing about Jalibert. So that halfback combination really doing a good job.
Yeah, and then also looking at the matchups, I expect them and Toulouse both to win at home in the last 16. But then they play each other in their quarterfinal. They would be playing it in Bordeaux, though. But that's going to be juicy.
But just look at the lineup there, mate. You've got 16 teams there, and all 8 of those games are proper. There's a reason to watch every single one of them.
No, completely. And that's why I'm so grateful that the Stormers are there and the Bulls somehow snuck in and got there. So to say we had 3 start and we got 2 in the last 16. And come April, we could have played ourselves into form. We don't go through 6 Nations, February, March. A lot of those players are involved in the 6 Nations. What's their fatigue going to be like? Does it hold momentum at club level? I wouldn't dismiss our chances just yet. When you go to Glasgow with a side like the Bulls, if they were going there in the URC, we would say they've always got a chance to win. When you look at the Toulon side, as good as they've been, Munster were 2 minutes away from beating them at the Stade Mayol. This isn't the Toulon side. They won 3 in a row. So it's game on, really. And then those English derbies are going to be huge. Harlequins, Sale, and Bath against Saracens.
Yeah, I think for those two South African games, the one advantage is there is no weight of expectation. As much as everybody would love to see us win there, the man in the street, the general rugby guy, doesn't expect the travelling team to win a playoff match in the Champions Cup playoffs. And so I think that really sort of puts us in a great space. The South African teams, in terms of their psyche, are never better than when they're written off. And I think that gives us a good chance.
And let's not forget the EPCR Challenge Cup. Last 16, the Sharks relegated out of the Champions Cup. They go into the draw, but always as an away team. They play Cardiff. That's another URC kind of type fixture.
Yeah.
They've won overseas before. It's a game that they believe they will be able to win. And then we saw that 2 seasons ago. They got on a roll in the playoffs and they ended up winning it. They went to the Big Dance weekend, even if they were the appetizer to the Big Dance. They were the Friday night game. They smashed Gloucester. They got some silverware and it got them back into the Investec Champions Cup the next season. So maybe 1 step forward for the Sharks, 3 back. But we're talking Sharks. We're talking a different competition. It's going to be a sellout, I believe.
What? Are they playing this weekend?
They're playing this weekend in Cape Town, which seems to be the only place in South Africa where people kind of watch rugby.
Mate, I saw a press release today. Connacht, very proud. They finished the construction of one of their stands. They're going to have a record crowd this weekend in Galway of 12,500 people. DHL Stadium, I think they had sold 35,000 tickets by the middle of the week already.
43,000. I had a coffee with Johan Leroux this morning, the owner.
There you go, we're up to 43.
He said they're hoping to, they definitely will sell out. Is it going to be 54,400 or 54,401?
I mean, that is insane, mate.
I want to know if I was going to come to the game.
What more reason do you need to actually have an Investec Champions Cup final in Cape Town, unless you are concerned that the Stormers are going to be there and you don't want to have an issue?
Ish economics. Net profit, right? Euros. You can charge a lot more in a euro for a ticket price than you can in rand.
True that.
Rands, in South African rands.
A rand.
But 54,000 pitched up for the brutal derby. Bulls against the Stormers. Stormers won at 13-8 in the 78th minute from a maul try. Wow, just all the good things about South African rugby. And now we're going to have 54,000 Sharks against the Stormers. Matchups galore. And the one I'm looking forward to the most is whoever's playing at 12, and I hope it will be Damian Willemse for the Stormers against Andre the Giant. A clash of styles.
Indeed.
A clash of skill set. And the one thing that people underestimate with Gaza is his physicality and his strength. He stands up to a tackle. In those close contact situations, he's hell of a strong. And he can go through a tackle, as we saw when he scored that wonderful try playing at centre against the All Blacks in Wellington. So, personally, that's the one if they do play 12 on 12, because you do get to run at your opponent, that I'm looking at. And see whether he starts at 8 or whether he starts at 6. I'm looking forward to the Paul de Villiers King Kolisi showdown at the breakdown.
Fabulous.
And we saw what happened when Sia played against Cameron Hanekom. There was a lot of needle in that game. Cameron Hanekom dumped him on his head, and unfortunately, it took Cameron out in a tackle that put him up for the season. One of those unfortunate, freakish kind of accidents at the breakdown. But Sia coming back to Cape Town, a lot of talk in the media has been with Paul. What do you think? He said it's fantastic. He'll be a great mentor, like Dion Fourie was there, but I'm not giving up the jersey. And I love that talk about is, what a better time to go and make a statement against the inspirational Springbok double World Cup winner, King Kolisi, who is coming back. This is a game made for Paul de Villiers.
Oh, no doubt. But I think we'd probably have a shorter conversation. We said, where isn't there a matchup on this field? Like every single position, there's something in it, isn't there? I mean, you've got Fassi and Warwick Galant. I mean, across the board, you've got one-on-one matchups that are juicy. I said to somebody the other day, it's basically like a mock trial. All these derbies always are. That is going to be a good matchup. Sasha at 10, Jordan at 10. Whatever the lineup is, I think it's going to be an interesting.
Reinach at 9 potentially.
Sure.
Jaden at 9. All Springboks.
Ox and Nietas.
Hey, Ox against the horse. Needling for sheer.
Mate, the matchups are across the board. It's going to be epic. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And again, the fact that this season we have these back-to-back derbies, I think adds a massive wrinkle to it. Because it's not just, hey, give your best against these guys and next week, dust it off, we're playing Scarlets. You're going to go again. So the Sharks have got to come down here, swim in some cold water, and then the Stormers have got to go up and handle the humidity the following week. It's going to make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Sharks, it's going to be a shock for them to play in front of 54,000. I think they've totaled that all season at home, okay? So teams get up for a full house. It was Carnival last weekend. 25,000 for the Leicester Tiger game. It bucketed with rain in the last 10 minutes, and there was just such an incredible atmosphere. But an interesting thing that I didn't notice at the time, and I felt there was something very different about that last 10 minutes, okay? It felt like watching a game at Newlands again. I thought I was watching this intense rugby game. And then Johan Leroux mentioned to me this morning, and he was sitting in the stands with his dad and his mates and his mom, where he always does. He loves being in the stands. They're season ticket. They've always been season ticket holders. Because of the heavy downpours, they had to stop all the music and bring the music in. And he said those 10 minutes, it was the crowd intensity, the crowd noise. And that was it.
That's it.
And he said it's an interesting thing. People come to rugby and they want rock and roll. They want Sweet Caroline as you're on the try line. But for a sustained 10-minute period, the atmosphere was provided by the feeling in the ground.
That was awesome.
And it was the most awesome.
Yeah.
It's the first time I felt
You
there
can
was
listen to music at home, you know? You can't hear the crowd
I
anywhere
felt
else.
there was this real sense of a game being played in front of me where I'm not going to an ad break every 10 seconds when the game stops. I hear another song like being screamed over the loudspeakers. So he said it's about finding the balance, but hell, those last 10 minutes just took me back to when you go and used to go watch a game of rugby, and the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows come from what the crowd's feeling. You know that thing of silence the crowd, with performance, and then the DJ ramps it up. So you don't silence the crowd anymore. You just want to silence the DJ. Honestly.
Yeah, I can relate. Absolutely.
So to back up a game like that, so you had the Bulls, 54,000. You had Leicester, 25,000. And the pitch seems to be getting better all the time, recovering slowly from that motocross debacle that on mid-December when they hosted that global event, it really destroyed the pitch. Didn't help the Stormers at all. But now you've got the Sharks, 54,000. You've got half the Springbok team there. You've got a young coach saying, I can do it. 2 from 8 in the league is irrelevant. 8 from 8 becomes irrelevant. One thing we have learned, and we see it across all those derbies played, be it the Irish sides, the Italian sides, the Welsh sides, especially when the Dragons just got on a roll against their counterparts.
Yep.
And the Scottish sides, I mean, it's like that big derby between Glasgow and Edinburgh. It comes down to the 80 minutes and it's mate against mate. It's Bongi against the world. To prove he still belongs there.
Truth.
Where's your money?
Mate, you know where my money is. But I mean, it is one of those things where, you know, both teams will come there with clear plans. The coaches will have a very clear picture of what they're trying to do. But it must be hard as a player, you know, when the whistle goes and the heat comes, not to get sidetracked by some of those duels and some of those challenges. So I think it just adds to the spectacle. And yeah, both teams will go hammer and tongs at it again. So let's see.
What's the mood been like at HTC?
Fabulous, mate. Fabulous.
Hey, never in doubt.
Never in doubt. Everybody's in a good space, mate. Again, you know, very fortunate to be in a position where there's room for improvement, and yet the wins are still coming. You know, so this team can improve, and that's saying something given they've lost one match this season. So, but again, a different challenge this week. South African team back to back, with lots to play for individually, collectively. And a URC log that has the potential to get quite tight quite quickly.
All right. Without giving away state secrets, as Sasha was asked at the press conference.
We're playing Evan Roos at 12.
Yeah, how do you play?
You got it out of me.
I don't want to give away the game plan, but if you watched us for the last season, we like to take the ball wide. It's in our DNA. Is there a difference that you've picked up, and now you've been with the squad, this will be your 12th game. Is there a difference in intensity when it comes to the Bulls or the Sharks, to other teams, at the mood, the kind of excitement?
I think you can definitely see it on the field. I think the preparation is pretty much the same. I'd say maybe there's a little bit more quiet in the room, you know, in the team meeting, but I think generally these guys have their process quite sort of down, but on game day you can see it. I mean, you can see the intensity of that Bulls-Stormers game. You know, the two teams came into it from very different ends of the spectrum in terms of momentum and confidence and motivation, I suppose. And the game was an absolute wrestle fest. You know, it came right down to it, a highly intense game, physically intense game. And I think these South African derbies generally, that's what makes him so great. It's essentially a test match the way it goes down.
And it is one score game. So again, a lot being made. 4 successive wins for the Stormers at the DHL Stadium. But then you look at the scores, 29-20s, they've been the biggest winning margin, 16-15, 24-20. On average,
1 by 4, lost by 6, 1 by 4, 1 by 1.
So on average, it's a 5-point differential. That's an unconverted try. And people can expect that kind of closeness again because form goes out the window, an action-packed team. And yes, the Sharks have underperformed. The Galacticos haven't quite been there. But if there's one game that they do get up for, it's like the Springboks get up for the All Blacks. The Sharks get up for the Stormers.
But the Sharks are coming. I mean, JP has made some good changes there. Definitely growing in confidence. Definitely doing some of the fundamentals better. And like we've spoken about the whole year, the whole season, if you just look at the roster, if this was FIFA rugby, you'd think these guys should be near the top of the log. So they've got the quality. They just need to put it together, and JP's starting to get that right, I would say.
Okay, so home ground advantage, obviously always a big thing. The Stormers are hard hits out with pretty much best available. The Sharks have had their big guns resting, training. They didn't travel for the last Investec Champions Cup game, and most of them didn't play at home. I'm talking the big guns. Didn't play at home against La Rochelle, knowing that La Rochelle had sent a weakened team and they scored 50 points. They would have been 3 weeks without a game. They had that tough one against the Lions at home. They lost in the last minute.
Clermont.
No, Lions in the URC.
I don't know. I thought you were talking about Sharks Clermont.
No, not this one.
Oh, okay.
Mate, stay with the program.
I lost you there.
So I said that team that's going to play on Saturday basically last played against the Lions.
Yeah.
That was their full-strength side.
Yeah.
They didn't send a team away. Concentrate, Zels. I know you got a touch game just now, mate. Concentrate. Look me in the eye. How does it favor or potentially not favor a team that has been in limbo for 2.5 weeks, where you come up against a battle-hardened team?
Yeah, look, I think having players fresh and specifically focused on this game and maybe spending some particular time, whether it be conditioning or tactical or both, prepping for a game certainly narrows the focus and makes a team probably better prep for it. But I think the Stormers have done a great job this season of rotating players, rolling the dice in some cases and gambling to make sure that we have this large squad of guys who have all got game time under the belt and are generally warm enough to play, even if it means we haven't rested players specifically for this match. So I don't know whether it gives you an advantage. I certainly think it helps you in your preparation. But as is always the case in these derbies, the proof will be in the 80 minutes on Saturday.
All right. Where it's the old cliche, matches are one up front, 10 controls the game, 9 controls the game. As an observer, what do you expect? What should someone expect that's coming to the game? What's going to be the critical area? Where does this game get won and lost? When you look at the quality of players, Springbok teammates, they know each other's game inside out. Individually, they know each other's game. Where will be the significant areas that teams will focus on in the preparation?
Oh, the cliches are, you've got to convert your opportunities into points and you've got to keep your error rate down. Those are obviously two vital facets of the game, I suppose. These two teams in particular are fantastic scrummagers. The Sharks and Stormers can scrum. And they lead the URC, both of these teams. So getting the best out of the referee at scrum time on the weekend for both the Sharks and the Stormers will be a key objective, I would say. Both teams can maul. The Stormers have a great line-out, and the Sharks have a great contesting line-out. That battle for the jump ball on the Stormers' feed is going to be interesting. And then maul timers. And the maul is downstream of the line-out, so if you get spoiled ball, it affects your maul. But I would say probably the biggest key is going to be that front row and that tight five, and then the back boys pushing. You've got to dominate the scrum, you've got to unsettle the opposition ball, and you've got to be able to control the field through the penalties. So I would sort of spotlight that as the big thing.
And number 16 to 23.
Correct, mate. The bench makes a huge impact, has to make an impact for you to win these games.
All right. Looking at the Stormers against the Sharks, if you want to know what I'm thinking, go to SARugbymag.co.za. Go there by Saturday morning. I may have changed my mind whether it's going to be 20, 10 or 5. But you do know that I'm going for the Stormers. Sorry.
As always.
Sorry, Sharks. But this one is the head as much as the heart. On Friday night, it's the Lions away to the Ospreys. and it's the Bulls away to Edinburgh. Significant game for the Bulls after the
Very
power
much
win.
so.
They've got to win this one.
Yeah, they have to. And they've got a good record against Edinburgh in all the time that they've played them. But they've just snapped a massive losing streak by getting a win against Power, which nobody expected. Hopefully the champagne has gone through the system after that game, because they need to get back and focused. All that win against Power did was line them up for a trip to Glasgow in a knockout match. They need to beat Edinburgh to start climbing the table in the URC, get back into contention. If they produce a performance that's anywhere nearly as good as what they did against Power, I'm very confident they can do it. But always tough to win on the road.
And the Lions?
Gotta love the Lions,
You
mate.
gotta love the Lions.
Gotta love the Lions. Look, Ruan Fenter's 2 games away. I think this is the second or third game in his suspension before he comes back. Bato Klekani gets the opportunity to start and make that 7 jersey his own. I think Ruan may rue being not around, because I think Bato's going to run with this opportunity. The Lions are quietly building a bench that really can add an impact. Etienne Oosthuizen's on the bench for them. Jared Keynes. Hashim Peed is on that bench. So the Lions are starting to put together something that looks like a full match day squad that can play the full 80. And they play intelligent rugby, the Lions. They could probably do a little bit less carrying and a little bit more chasing field position, but they're close. So I think that'll be a great game, and obviously pulling for the Lions. Ospreys are a tricky team, a little bit of a python team that they sort of wrap you up and lie all over you and make the breakdown a mess. So you've got to be efficient there.
What do you think? Talk that the Ospreys will be the side that gets cut. Wales are going to go from 4 to 3 teams in 2027 in the URC. And from an economics point of view, I keep on hearing that it's the Ospreys that could be going. How does that then impact on players going into a game? You don't think at this stage it makes much difference? They just want to get wins?
Yeah, I think players sort of live week to week, to be honest. But I do think the sort of the sad story around Welsh rugby has probably galvanised these players a bit more, because it creates a lot of uncertainty, and the only way to create certainty out of uncertainty as a player is to play your great rugby. And worst case scenario, you get an offer to go play somewhere else that's lucrative. If you don't produce your best rugby now, the chances of you finding a good contract, should your team be the one that gets axed, gets lower. I don't know enough about Wales rugby to make the call. We should have had Scotty Gibbs on this, but I love Ospreys as a team, as a club. I think they've got something there, and with Tipuric in the mix there as a coach, they've got a bit of edge, Osprey. So aside from Cardiff, I would say Osprey is probably their second best region. But look, I don't know enough about the inner workings of Welsh rugby and the pathways to make that call, but I do like them.
And Ospreys, I mean, that's Scotty's region, Swansea. Then they were the club that into the Ospreys. Am I right in saying that? Mm-hmm. And I mean, he played many a great game there for the club. If we look at our international news, we got a very interesting email all the way from Sweden. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, mate. Yes, we got an email from a keen fan of the show. His name is Ewan Presence, and he coaches rugby in Sweden. And there's a boy that plays rugby for him over there. I think it's an under-16 boy.
Yep.
Who's been diagnosed with a tumor. And yeah, he just asked us if we could put something together on the show, just a shout out to wish the kid well. And I just want to read what he says about this guy, because I found it quite endearing. He sent us a bunch of pictures of the boy. I'm assuming Imi's got them up for us, but I just want to find.
His name is Leon Ananskog.
Have you got the email in front of you?
16 years old. Yeah, I do have it in front of me.
Okay, here we go. Leon is one of the special characters every team is lucky to have. Brave, fearless, and a true warrior on the pitch. He leads by example, never scared to put his body on the line, and embodies everything this great game of rugby teaches us. The warrior poem that Rusty recites comes to mind when I think about Leon. So, yeah, that's Ewan Presence, his coach, that reached out to us. And obviously we wish Ewan and Leon all the best. He's been diagnosed with a tumor in his brain.
He says it is benign at the moment, that the young man's disposition is positive. He plays for Malmö Rugby Club in Sweden. Ewan coaches the under-16, under-18s, youth rugby. It's great to know that guys are tuning in all the way from Sweden, not just for tennis, but for our show as well. And that there's a huge Springbok support base there. given we are the world champions, the number one ranked team in the world, and a team that has a Kiwi in their coaching staff, Tony Brown. Another one be making a lot of news again. Every single New Zealand talk show host has had Tony Brown on. Mike Hoskins, a great interviewer, he interviewed Tony Brown. I thought Tony Brown's answers were significant because he didn't say no. He didn't say no to the All Blacks. He said, I'm going back to South Africa. He didn't say, I'm with South Africa. I'm sure Rassie, who's been very obvious about he's going to keep him. He's going to be here till 2027 World Cup in Australia. But Tony Brown, honest, to his credit, said it's always been his ambition to coach the All Blacks. He's been an All Black. He loves the All Blacks. He is committed to South Africa. He's got a contract, but no one's spoken to him. And then he did reveal that Razor Robertson, on the eve of being axed, approached him. How interesting is that for you?
Very interesting, mate. I'm very surprised to hear that because they said at the time they were appointing the All Blacks coach, Razor got the job. It was a fight between the two camps, the Jamie Joseph camp, the Razor Robertson camp. So it just goes to show Razor was in desperation state some time ago. And to reach out to Tony at that point, given where Tony was in the season and where the All Blacks were, I think was a very interesting thing. And I've read what Tony said. As much as like there's a fine line between loyalty and then just maybe not making the best decision for yourself. I think the Boks got rid of arguably the best defense coach in the world in Jacques Nienaber and still went and did great things. They've continued to win. So it's not that I don't think any coach is indispensable or irreplaceable. I think the Boks are better for having Tony Brown there. But this guy, I think, retired from pro rugby in the 2008, 9, 10 region and has been coaching ever since. And I think when he picked up the clipboard for the first time and blew the whistle for the first time as a coach, his objective was to one day be the All Blacks coach. Having played for the All Blacks, he is a Kiwi. If the opportunity comes to coach the All Blacks, those opportunities don't come around once for most people. The chance they're going to come around 3 times. As in, Razor offered to you, you said no. Jamie said come back, you say no. The chances of having it a 3rd time after the next World Cup are pretty slim. And if he's already confirmed that that's where his heart is. He wants to coach the All Blacks one day. If you Rassie, I don't know. I have no doubt in my mind that Tony will give his all for the Boks. But if Jamie picks up the phone and says, listen, the gap is open. If you Rassie, I think maybe you say, hey, Tony, listen, if you want to go, you must go. Because to hold a guy when his heart is somewhere else, I don't think does him any good and does your team any good. And as much as he's a good coach and he's added value, I don't think any coach is irreplaceable.
So you don't think this song has been played till the end?
No. I was there, and I'm not comparing necessarily apples with apples, but I was there at the opening press conference at Newlands when they said, Eddie, you're in Cape Town, are you staying? And he said, mate, I woke up this morning, I opened the curtains, I looked up, and there was Tabletop Mountain. That's where I am. And about 15 seconds later, he was out of here to England.
He was on a plane to England. And I remember chatting to your technical guru, Human Crick, who said the one thing that he got from Eddie Jones being here for 3 days was a new laptop because Eddie never opened it and they gave it to him. So he's always grateful to Eddie being here because he got that laptop.
Is the best.
He said Eddie's laptop had never been opened. There was a nice little Stormers shirt that hadn't been opened on top of it.
I don't think he must fit into Eddie's Stormers shirt, mate.
So, Eddie, I remember that. I looked out, I saw Table Mountain, mate, and then he was in England.
God.
Yeah, he announced on that Thursday. I think he had the press conference here on the Tuesday.
He finished the press conference, took his Stormers jacket off and went to the airport.
Was appointed by that weekend to coach England, where he went on to win 18 in a row before it all went south.
Yeah.
That incredible semi-final 2019 where they destroyed the All Blacks 19-7, only to be destroyed 32-12 by the world champions Springboks, who became the world champions in that final. 2019, repeated it 2023. Everything in Cape Town. You want to know World Cup winners, they'll be there. The admission price to see the best team in the world. I mean, the money that the Oaks were paying to go to France. Guys, $200, $85, $150 to see this selection of Sharks and Stormers playing tribe against tribe. But ultimately, they are Springboks. They teammates nationally. They World Cup winners. Just get to the DHL Stadium on Saturday. You'll see Zels in the coaching box. You'll see me tapping away furiously in the media box. You'll see Dobbo looking now Fabian Gaultier, all calm, and you'll see JP Peterson emotionless in that coach's box, just wondering what went wrong.